Hello, I'm Dorian.
And I'm Sebastian.
Today we're going to be talking about a Mr. Johann Heinrich, and sorry if I butcher this, Fuseli, or Henry Fuseli.
Fuseli was a Swiss artist who was born on February 6, 1741, in Zurich, a city in Switzerland.
He was the second child of Anna Elizabeth Weiser and Johann Caspar Fuseli, a painter and author.
His dad didn't want him to be an artist, so he sent Henry to Caroline College in Zurich.
While in college, he became a minister and an expert on theology. He also made a bestie for life, Johann Caspar Lavater. Everyone there was named Johann, apparently.
He also tried getting with one of Lavater's nieces, Anna Landau, but her father told him to scram. He never got over that one.
Fuseli also got mentored by two teachers named Johann Brettinger and Johann Bodmer. See? Bodmer was his favorite teacher who Fuseli compared to Homer, Dante, and Shakespeare, who would all become his inspirations later in life.
In 1761, Fuseli helped Lavater expose a corrupt judge, so they both had to skip town and Fuseli became a wandering salesman, or like a hobo who writes for food.
So Fuseli eventually met this guy who turned out to be an artist named Sir Joshua Reynolds. Reynolds told Fuseli to become an artist, and like the college student he was, he backpacked all over Europe until he set up shop in Italy, where he changed his name from Heinrich Fuseli to Henry Fuseli to sound more Italian.
Fuseli was a huge Shakespeare fanboy and painted a lot of works inspired by Shakespeare's themes, like fan art, but before it was popular. Fuseli's first painting that put him on the radar was The Nightmare. It showed Fuseli was a master of chiaroscuro and could mix multiple spooky and Shakespearean themes. Most people recognize this one.
This painting's called The Nightmare due to the nightmares that Henry Fuseli had when he had sleep paralysis. Some of you in the audience actually might have had sleep paralysis before in the past. Sleep paralysis is when you're sleeping at night and you wake up and you're not really able to move. Your brain's fully awake and you're able to comprehend everything around you, but you just can't move. Some people describe the feeling of someone sitting on them or seeing shadows in the room. The people who are going through this are scared out of their minds, but they can't really say anything or move since their body's asleep, but their brains are fully awake. Henry Fuseli actually went on to research a little bit about this, and he heard some Germanic tales about demons and witches that possessed people who slept alone. In these stories, men were visited by horses, or hags, and women were believed to engage in sex with the devil. I don't know how that correlates, but take that as you will. Nightmares actually derived from the word mara, a Scandinavian mythological term referring to a spirit sent to torment or suffocate sleepers. The early meaning of nightmare actually included the sleeper's experience of weight on the chest and combined with sleep paralysis and feeling of dread.
Fuseli was introduced to the poetry of John Milton during his student days. Paradise Lost was special for him in that it explores the realms of the imagination, dreams, and the supernatural.
You know, a funny thing about Paradise Lost is that it's actually the reason Satan looks like a seductive bad boy on TV. But in the Bible, he looks less hot and more like Jeepers Creepers. The painting is Paradise Lost, where Fuseli compares fallen angels in hell to fairies and folklore that screw around with a peasant with their music and dancing. You can see the angels dancing around, and there's a little satanic circle on the ground. Fuseli also shows them being all nice and friendly above the sleeping shepherd. So nice it sounds almost like a dream. Fuseli also really shows his mastery of chiaroscuro with a vortex of light above the shepherd's head, which one fairy touches with a little wand. Fuseli also uses his vast knowledge of supernatural creatures that are in the painting. In the bottom left-hand corner, a crouching witch has just pulled a flower-headed mandrake out of the ground. If you have watched Harry Potter, you probably know what that is. In the opposite corner is Queen Mabs, the bringer of nightmares, and attached to her by a chain is a little monster child called an incubus. Incubuses entice unsuspecting travelers, overpower them, and steal all their clothes like little perverts. The building on the right side of the painting possibly represents the Temple of Diana, which, according to medieval folklore, Diana was transformed into a demon and led an army of witches throughout the sky by night. Or Fuseli could have possibly meant it to be the ivory portal, which described by Homer and Virgil in Dante's Divine Comedy, through which delusive dreams emerge.
Fuseli paints the Norse legend where Thor rows out in a boat with the giant Hymir, who is a little nerd and is huddling up in the fetal position. Using an ox's head as bait, Thor manages to fish up the Jormungandr. Odin is in the top left of the painting watching Thor like a Marvel movie.
Alright, first of all, I love Norse mythology. Jormungandr also means world serpent, and I love that Fuseli loves Norse mythology too. Fuseli was also a very big supporter of the French Revolution during the time, so this painting can also be seen as his support for the French people's struggle against the old regime.
Fuseli loved Shakespeare while he was in college. A Midsummer Night's Dream had held a special place for him since it explores the supernatural.
Alright, so in this painting, Fuseli illustrates a moment from Act 4, Scene 1, in which Oberon, in order to punish her for her pride, casts a spell on Queen Titania, Queen of the Fairies. As a result, she falls in love with Bottom, whose head has been transformed into an ass. Fuseli's imagination is giving creative liberty. Titania calls upon her fairies, who are wearing contemporary dresses during the time, to attend to the Bottom. At the top right, a little demon face pops out of the darkness. That's Puck, the Fairy King's henchman who attends and executes his master's will. His magic potion will also prove the despair of the two young women on the left side of the painting, Hermia and Helena. Their uses of the potion causes their respective lovers to confuse one for the other. Fuseli loved Shakespeare while I was in college, A Midsummer Night's Dream especially, since it explores themes of the supernatural. In the picture, Fuseli illustrates a moment from Act 4, Scene 1, in which Oberon, in order to punish his wife for her pride, he makes her fall in love with a man whose face has been replaced with a donkey's.
This is from Shakespeare's Macbeth, and represents the moment immediately after Macbeth has murdered Duncan, King of Scotland. Macbeth starts crying like a little baby about it, and his wife is all like, I want a divorce, so give me the daggers. This is a scene towards the end of the play where Lady Macbeth starts sleepwalking and dreams of blood on her. She runs through the dark halls tripping out that she helped kill Duncan. Fuseli was a little freaky and loved dominant women, so he painted women as cruel sexual predators.
This painting's called The Debutante, and the subject really isn't known to us, but from what we can gather, these are probably high-class prostitutes or courtesans. The woman in the foreground who is sewing appears to be tethered by a lead around her neck. The large woman seated to the left might be the person in charge of the brothel in that town that he was in while he painted this.
The woman in white snuggles up on the guy with the sword, who's about to kill some weirdo on the floor.
The lighting and the exaggerated poses are very theatrical. Fuseli often depicted knightly heroics and lesser-known legend in his earlier works. So this painting's called Milton Dictating to His Daughters. Not much is really known about this painting either, but as you can tell, Milton really loved his daughters.